Hey y'all, it's fall and I'm freezing. I'm sure some of you guys are too. So I'm here cuddled up with my hot chocolate and my blanket. All right, let's get right to it. Thankfully, I'm going to start with CMS. CMS, there have been no new memos this week. So we are in the clear. Knock on wood, because it is going to be Friday tomorrow. And inevitably, they release things on Friday afternoon. So if there is anything released, we will send that out in an alert. All right, so back to OIG. All right, let me scroll up a little bit. All right, with regard to OIG, we've learned that, and this is really important, so just beg you to pay attention here. Looking ahead at the calendar, the cabinet officials discovered that that handy-dandy long-term care positivity map that we've been using for both surveillance testing and for visitation would be changing on both Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so what they've decided to do in order to, avoid disturbing everybody's holidays, they've decided to switch things, and they're going to be changing that map going forward on the first and third weeks of each month rather than the second and the fourth. I hope that's making sense to everybody. At first I was like, what? So what that means for everybody is that you'll be needing to check the map on the first and the third Fridays of each month, and then adjust your testing and then perhaps visitation accordingly. But remember, of course, that CMS and OIG are encouraging visitation if you can swing it, if you're not in an outbreak situation. Okay, hope that makes sense. So remember, the map is on the OIG's webpage, and we have the link for it in this update. That's the map that you should be checking. Check it on the first and third Fridays of each month. So it's changing. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will try to help walk anybody through this. Things are always changing and it's not helpful. All right, so you may have heard during the governor's recent press conference that now they're going to be looking at the positivity rate that's calculated only by PCR tests. And I know, for most of us, it's like, what? This is because the antigen test, and I know, there are so many different acronyms and types of tests, and we're all learning. It's a huge learning curve for all of us. So those antigen tests, and those are the ones that are in those point of care devices that some facilities are using. Those in Kentucky have mostly only been used up until now as a way to know if a PCR test is needed as a follow-up. But as far as the state is concerned, those were being reported in duplicate, or, the antigen test was being reported and then a PCR test was being reported. So they've decided to scrap counting the antigen tests, and they are only going to be counting PCR tests. What does this mean for you? Not a darn thing. But I just wanted to pass this information along to you in case anybody was tuned into that governor's press conference and heard that and thought, what does this mean for us? Because sometimes we listen to these press conferences and it can be a little alarming. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were clear on that. Means nothing for you. Just continue reporting your data and your test results as you have been, but just didn't want anybody to panic. Okay, flu vaccines. The IG is aware of the delays in obtaining flu vaccines at both the health department and through the health departments and your other suppliers. We've made them aware. We've heard of those concerns. We've made them aware. They know. However, if you're having difficulty obtaining your vaccines, just make sure that you document your efforts to obtain them and keep that documentation for survey purposes. All right. And then one more reminder. We were just reminded of this on a call yesterday. If you have a positive COVID-19 test for anybody, an employee, a resident, and this was reported to us through the Department for Public Health and then also kind of sanctioned by the IG. If an individual tests positive for COVID-19, they shouldn't be tested again for 90 days. And that's, it's going to be tough to keep track of, but it's important that we do. So for a staff member, if that individual tests positive for COVID-19 after 10 days or more, after 10 days or once they're no longer symptomatic, they're able to return to work. Now, I guess there's been some confusion about this or some concerns because facilities well, I know this has come up because if a facility is in crisis mode or is in have had staffing issues, a staff member who tests positive may work with members or residents who are cohorted into a COVID-19 positive unit. So staff members who are positive may work with residents who are positive in a crisis situation. However, under no circumstances should staff members who are testing positive for COVID-19 be working with residents or any other individuals for that matter who are COVID negative. And I know there's been some concern about this because of false positive tests. If you have concerns about that, reach out to the health department. Reach out to your local health department or the state health department or us, and we can help facilitate that because I know there have been some concerns about that. We'll help walk you through that. But really, the biggest concern is please do not be putting anybody who tests positive, even if you think it's a false positive, with those who are negative. Okay, like I said, nothing new from CMS. CDC has issued a new frequently asked questions document on testing in nursing homes, and this should actually be kind of helpful. This page answers some questions to some of our frequently asked questions with regard to testing. This has to do with like confirmatory testing and management of individuals with false positives or false negative antigen tests for those of you folks who are using those point of care devices, or for some of the labs that are using antigen tests. So it's a helpful document. Take a look at it. We're all expected to do that. So take a look. We have two bits of information that have come out with regard to OSHA. The first one is if you are using N95 masks or other respirators in your facility, make sure you know and you remember that you need to have a respiratory protection program plan per their standards. We've been hearing that citations are being issued in other states for not having this plan. And we've included a template in this alert or in this update for you to make sure that you have this plan on file. So just make sure you have that. We don't want you to be caught in a situation where you don't have that on file. Okay, and then recently there's been another update coming out from OSHA with some guidance. There's apparently an N95 shortage in some areas of the country. I haven't heard that from any of you, but if you're experiencing that, please let me know. But for your COVID units with this N95 shortage, employers should prioritize the use of fit testing supplies to protect employees who must use respirators for high-risk procedures. So OSHA has released guidance for their enforcement discretion when considering issuing citations for respirators and fit testing. This guidance only applies to fit testing of those NIOSH-approved, tight-fitting, powered air purifying respirators used with only in contingency capacity strategy. So only in like those really, contingency, like only in like really dire situations when performing job tasks with a high or very high occupational exposure risk to COVID-19. So I don't think that this will apply to many situations or many employees, but just be aware that if you have employees who cannot use N95, or if you run into a situation where you have an N95 shortage, that you have this guidance in front of you from OSHA. If you have any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are always here to help you, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy. Thanks.